Thank you, Isabella. Like she said, I am a Kahoot ambassador. I'm also a second grade teacher in public school. So I'm in the schools right now. My school is doing hybrid. So we get to see half our kids 2 days a week while the others are at home, and then we switch. So we got a little bit of both worlds. I've got some distance learning going on and some in person. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And all right, so hopefully you're here for empowering students with social and emotional learning. And if you're in the education world right now, you have probably been hearing the term SEL thrown around a lot lately. So what I'm here to do today is kind of talk you through what that is, why does it matter, why is everybody talking about it, and what you can do to bring it into your classroom, bring it to your students. So we're going to start at the very beginning. What is SEL? What is it? SEL stands for social emotional learning. Social emotional learning is the process of developing the self-awareness, self-control, and interpersonal skills that are vital for school, work, and life success. This is a quote from the Committee for Children, and they are an amazing resource for social emotional learning. And I just loved how it kind of pulled it all into one thing because it can be a little overwhelming, but I thought this really put it very clearly. And now that we know kind of what it is, why does it matter in the world of education? What does social emotional learning have to do with you or me or my students? So people with strong social emotional skills are better able to cope with everyday challenges, and they benefit academically, they benefit professionally in their future, and they benefit socially. From effective problem solving to self-discipline, from impulse control to emotional management and more, social emotional learning provides a foundation for positive long-term effects in kids and adults and on communities. This isn't just for children. I know many adults in my life, myself included, benefit heavily from social emotional learning. Everybody needs it, and it benefits everyone. It doesn't just benefit schools or families. So that's why it matters. It obviously has an impact in school, later in life, in professional situations, and in social situations that you encounter every day. Maybe a little less right now, but we still have a lot of social interaction. So now that we know a little bit of what it is and why it matters, how on earth do we do this? How do we use social emotional learning? So what we have to do is give students the tools, the words, the knowledge to handle themselves in new and tough situations. We know that our students encounter those every day. We also are teaching them to recognize their emotions and manage difficult ones and still live their life. They're going to experience tough emotions, easy emotions, and we have to give them those tools, the words, the knowledge to handle those emotions and still function. So what we're going to talk about today is a few ways that you can do this with your students. So these are the 4 areas that we're going to talk about today. So the first is using the curriculum that you already have. And you might be thinking, I don't have a social emotional learning curriculum. My district didn't provide me with that. But you'll see when I talk about it, you really do have everything you need to get started already. Next, we'll talk about modeling healthy emotional management, giving your students a model of how to deal with their emotions, both big and small. Then we'll go into emphasizing emotional recognition, recognizing emotions, labeling them, putting a word, an idea to that emotion so they know what it is when they encounter it. And that goes from tone to body language and giving those labels. And then the last thing we'll talk about is making time. How do we make time? How do we devote time daily to breathing, to mindfulness, to calming, so that your students know that it's valuable? So those are the 4 areas that we're really going to focus on today. And these should give you some things that you can take back and start right away. So first, we're going to talk about using what you already have. So you already have the best curriculum out there, and I'd actually might be at home eating dinner right now because your students are your guiding light when you're teaching social emotional learning. When you're teaching social emotional skills, your students are how you decide what your students need to learn. So the best way to provide students with the tools that they need is to give them the tools and practice using them while they need them. In the moment is the best time to teach social emotional learning skills and tools. You can teach before or after, but realistically, the impact is a lot higher when they're in a situation, they're feeling an emotion, they're in something new and tough and trying to work through it, and they use it, you use it with them, and it works. That's so powerful to students when you take the time to sit there and go through them. You crouch down, get on their level, or with an older kid, work through it, talk through it with them. That is so much more powerful to them, because the next time they find themselves feeling that way or in that situation, they know a tool, a skill that works, not something that they've heard that there was a lesson on it and I could try this if I'm upset, but while I'm upset or while I'm frustrated, I might not remember that skill. But if I've used it, I know it works. That's going to be so important for your students. So I went ahead of my slides a little bit, but so in the moment is really what I want you to know. In the moment is when you're going to give those really powerful lessons, and it might not be to your whole class. It might be one student who really needs to grow in a specific social emotional learning skill, and you just get down on their level and help them through something tough or something big that they're dealing with. And it really is worth the moment that you give, even if you're stepping away from other students. Giving a moment to help them work through that is going to be so powerful for that student that it is absolutely worth it to do it then versus when you have time. Because in education right now, that's the one thing we don't have enough of. We have lots of feedback or ideas or things to try, but we don't have enough time for everything. So I promise it's worth it. The next thing we're going to talk about is modeling healthy emotional management. So showing students that you have emotions and talking them through how you are healthfully managing your emotions and overcoming them is so powerful. Now, I don't mean that you should air your dirty laundry with your students and they don't need to know about your breakup or your drama or all that, but telling them what your emotions are, sharing your emotions. Today, I'm feeling sad. I would appreciate your well wishes. Or I'm feeling frustrated and I need to take a few deep breaths. I use that one a lot with my second graders. I'm feeling stressed. I feel like we have a lot to do today and I need your help. That's another one that is powerful, because if they don't know how you're feeling, they don't know how to help. And that's exactly how they feel. So when they see you handling your emotions in a real way, it seems a bit more possible for them. When they see someone that they trust and respect and love handle their sadness or frustration or nerves, they see how it should and could be done. And we have to remember that, especially right now, we might be the only positive role model that they have in this area. As I came back into my classroom, it was pretty obvious. They've been at home with their families and caretakers for 5 months. And that was in our students, the most stressful global event of their lifetime. And they were going through that with their family, all stuck in the house, in the apartment, wherever they were. And it became clear that they had witnessed and were a part of a lot of emotional expression, and not all of it was healthy. And that's okay. Our families experience stress and they deal with it the way they deal with it. But we at school are able to give them some examples and tools to deal with their emotional expression in a little bit of a different way. All we can do is model. All right, next we have emphasize emotion recognition. So What I really mean by this is that we can put a name, just like we talked about earlier, we can put a name to the emotions that they're feeling. So when we notice facial expressions, when we notice body language and tone, we give students power because they're often struggling with knowing what they feel, especially younger children. When you ask them what's wrong, they don't have the words to tell you. They don't really know, or they don't have the right word to tell you what's wrong. So if they don't know what it is, then they don't know how to deal with it. They don't know how to manage it. So this can be done with younger kids, and read alouds. Books are such a great resource for this. Stories with pictures. There's characters that have body language and facial expressions, and those are so intentional by the author, and you can use those to give little tidbits of social emotional skills and practices. So characters and stories are a really good tool for that, for identifying those emotions and how those characters deal with them, and noticing if that was a healthy way to deal with them or an unhealthy way. There are also some incredible resources out there that highlight social emotional skills. So they showed children in school dealing with tough situations that they really might encounter in school. Sometimes when you read a story and you highlight one of those situations, their facial expressions, it's not a very relevant experience to your students because they might never find themselves in that position. But like on here, I have conscious discipline and social thinking curriculum. Both of those programs have books specifically written to attend to a social emotional skill. So they show a character going through their school day, their day at home with their family and siblings, going through tough situations and handling them in a healthy way, which is an amazing way to show students versus just telling them. When they get to see a character do it in a book and you can reference back to it, that's so powerful. So there are also so many companies right now, such as Kahoot, others like Nearpod. They're really getting on this train. They're partnering with groups that are doing research and who have the information on social emotional learning, and they're giving you resources. Kahoot has tons of amazing, one we're going to play later, Kahoots that teach your social emotional skills, which is so amazing. These are such a great resource because they're right here in front of you. You don't have to go search for them or make them yourself. They're already there for you to use. Same with Nearpod. Nearpod has partnered with Castle and some other companies to make some really amazing, especially for upper grades. They have some incredible resources for social emotional learning. And with older kids, you can also have them show you or visualize how characters are feeling, what they would look like based on their tone or their choice of words, their emotions that are being conveyed through the text. I also think that one of the amazing benefits of our huge influx and increase in technology in our classrooms right now is that it gives students a level of comfort in sharing, because sometimes we have students who are not comfortable telling you how they feel or what's going on in their life or asking questions. So I love that that's a part that we can really use right now, because we're in a world of distance learning and digital check-ins. And if we give students the opportunity to tell us anything about their life, about their schoolwork, about what's going on, it gives them a chance to share in a safe place. If they put it in a Google form, they know not everyone in their class is going to know what's going on with them. So it gives them a level of comfort. This is even something I did last year when things were normal in my classroom. I had a little tissue box, like an empty tissue box, that I put a piece of paper on the side that was a picture of a mailbox. And I gave my students, that mailbox stood in our classroom with little pieces of paper next to it so that they could write to me. It had little checks on it. So it said, like, I'm writing to you about a question that I have. I'm writing about something exciting I want to share. I'm writing about something I'm frustrated about or sad about. And they would, when they had extra time or whatever, they would write their notes to me. They'd fold it up and put it in that tissue box. And at the end of the day, I'd go pull them out after the kids had left. I'd respond on the backside and leave it on their desk for them to read in the morning. Super simple. Didn't take me a lot of time. Even if my whole class wrote me one, and I've got 20 plus kids, it doesn't take long to quickly handwrite something back to them so that they know that you read it and attended to what they were feeling. And they got questions answered. It was great. They really were able, I learned so much about my students that I wouldn't have learned, or they wouldn't have shared, or we wouldn't have time to talk about otherwise. But this really just validated their feelings and their emotions. And it doesn't have to be cutesy. I didn't have to have a mailbox to hear my students. If your students know that they can talk to you, no matter what, if they know that you are a safe place, a safe person, they're going to feel safe and comfortable when they need someone or something. If you let them know that you're that person, there's the little mailbox. They're going to feel comfortable coming to you. And that's really what we want for our students. We want us to be a safe place. If they don't have someone else to talk to, we want them to know that we can be that person for them, or that we can be that person for them and get them the resources that they need and get them connected with the people who can really help them. So our last part is about making time. Like I said earlier, we have to do this and this and this, and this gets added and this gets added. There isn't extra time, and I completely understand that. So really what I'm talking about in this section is making it a priority. If we make it a priority, if we make uninterrupted time each day, it tells your students that you think that this is worth it, that you think that it's important to take care of yourself and to be calm and, take care of them and you. So this can be done in a million different ways. So it can be done in just a few minutes each day. It doesn't have to be a 45-minute lesson of your day. We don't have time for that. I have minutes, all those added up minutes of literacy and math and social studies that I have to teach. It doesn't have to be a big chunk. It can be as simple as breathing together, taking time to sit down, stop what you're doing, and take a minute to breathe and calm our bodies and our brains. This is also a time that you can learn and practice calming strategies. So my class does this every day after recess. We go to lunch, we go to recess, we come back. Our routine is that we come in and sit in our chairs, and we have the lights off. We do typically like a Go Noodle flow or a breathing exercise from YouTube, and we just cool down. We cool down our bodies. We kind of reset from all the high energy of recess so that we're ready to knock out the second half of our day, because we still have a lot to do. So this goes hand in hand with modeling. If we make it a priority, if we model it, we make it important, they're going to know that we think it's important and that it's valuable and that it's not something to skip when we get extra busy. And this is still applicable even if you're not in the classroom. You can still make time for it in your virtual or your distance learning. It's as easy as inserting a breathing video into your slides that you send them, or over your Zoom if you start your Zoom with a couple deep breaths together. Those digital check-in forms, checking their emotional state. How are you feeling today? Are you tired? Are you frustrated? How are you feeling? Are you ready to learn today? In your LMS, I know my district is using Canvas. We've put our morning meeting slides with our breaths and our social emotional skills that we start our day with right inside of there. So it doesn't have to be in person. It doesn't have to be if you have 1 or 2 Zoom calls with your class a week. It doesn't have to take up that time. This is something they can do at home with their family. And if you can make it a family activity, that's even better. That's great. That's a good use of your students' time, because it's also going to benefit the family, because the families are frustrated now too. Their world has changed. Their child's world has changed. taking a little time to learn together as a family to breathe and pause and calm our bodies and our brains is going to benefit everyone. So I know it's kind of a lot. This was barely scraping the surface of social emotional learning, but just remember that it doesn't have to be, nor should it be, a monthly or a weekly 45-minute lesson that you check off your to-do list and then you're done and you don't have to worry about social emotional learning for a while. It's going to build a better future for your students. And you are helping to build a generation of emotionally healthy humans, which is incredible to me. When I look at the push right now to include social emotional learning in K through 12, it brings me so much joy because I imagine the healthy relationships, the healthy communication that my students are going to have later in their life, and it's amazing. So no matter how much you're able to push it in, even little pieces to start with, you are changing your students. You're for the better. You are helping them to have so much health and social emotional health in their life as they grow and get older and have to deal with more social skills that they need to function, like we said, in a professional setting, in an academic setting, and socially. You're setting them up for success. So high five. All right. So now we're going to get to try out one of the incredible pre-made, ready to go Kahoots that focus on a social emotional skill that are already in the Kahoot library. So I'm going to go to that. Now,
yes, it's working now.
Perfect. All right, try to trick me. Okay, so this one is all about empathy, made by an incredible company that has partnered with Kahoot. And Isabella, can you help me with how to pronounce their name?
Empatico.
Empatico. They have a whole collection of amazing pre-made, ready to go, just click to start social emotional Kahoots. All right, this Kahoot is all about empathy. Let's get started. I'm so excited. I love the slides feature. So it starts off giving a definition. Empathy is when we understand and care about another person's feelings. We try to imagine how they might feel and connect with them over these shared feelings. The 3 ingredients of empathy. The 3 ingredients of empathy are: number 1, feeling what the other person is feeling; number 2, trying to understand why they feel this way; and number 3, taking action to help them. I love the recipe metaphor.
Yes.
It can be tricky to understand how these 3 ingredients combine to create empathy. So let's see them in action. All right, quiz question time. Imagine you see your friend crying, which makes you feel sad. Are you feeling what your friend is feeling? So we have yes, I am sharing their feelings, or no, I am not sharing their feelings. All right, so it was yes, I am sharing their feelings. We saw that our friend was sad and that made us feel sad. All right, let's look at our scoreboard. Awesome. All right, next question. Now imagine you remember a similar experience that made you feel sad. Are you trying to understand their feelings? We have yes, I am using my own experience to understand why they feel sad, or no, I am not using my own experiences to understand why they feel sad.
I love the pictures that they have in this Kahoot. They're very nice.
Mm-hmm. That's one of my favorite features, is like being able to search pictures and just slide them straight into my questions. Makes it so easy. All right, absolutely, you guys. It was yes, I am using my own experiences to understand why they feel sad. All right, let's look. Ooh, some people have moved up. Great job.
Yeah.
All right, last, imagine giving your friend a hug and telling them that you are here if they want to talk. Are you helping them? So we have yes, after understanding their feelings, I am taking action to help them. Or no, I am not taking action to help them.
I forgot how difficult it can be to try and play Kahoot and interact with people on the chat. I might have outdone myself. Let's see.
You are definitely good at multitasking.
Yes, yeah. Thank you.
All right, absolutely. Yes, we were reaching out and understanding their feelings and taking action to help them. Ooh, wow, we have 149 players who got an answer streak of 3. That is awesome.
That's great. They're already experts in social and emotional learning then.
All right, so these 3 ingredients help us practice empathy. However, we might need to use other skills to help us too. Which skills do you think might be helpful? When we are practicing empathy with someone, which skill or skills might be helpful? Listening carefully and responding with kindness, asking them questions to better understand, seeing the situation from their point of view, or all of the above?
I think I know the answer to this one.
I had to change some of mine last year with my students and trick them every now and then because they started to notice whenever it was all of the above that was the answer. So I had to throw a couple in there on other questions just to throw them off their game so they would they would know to read all of the answers, not just all of the above.
Right, you need to make sure they're paying attention. That's smart. Is this available on the free platform? Yes. So all of our social and emotional learning Kahoots are free to use. So you can go on and just start using them and playing them with your students right away.
Which is amazing.
Yes.
Because they are an amazing resource. All right. Yes, it was all of the above. All of those skills can help you practice empathy with the people around you. All right. Ooh, Tiggy has a streak with 4 correct. That's awesome.
Ooh.
My students loved getting a little shout out there on the bottom of the screen. All right. When we are practicing empathy with someone, it's important that we listen carefully and respond with kindness, ask questions to better understand, and try to see the situation from their point of view. Can you think of any other skills? Empathy is very different from sympathy, which is when we feel sorry for someone. When we practice empathy, we are connecting with someone over shared feelings and experiences. Your friend is too scared to go on a roller coaster with you. You say, "Oh, that's too bad." This is empathy, sharing their feelings, or this is sympathy, feeling sorry for them. Which do you think it is? Empathy or sympathy?
Aimee, are you a roller coaster person?
I am.
Oh, I'm not. So I would be the one too scared to go on the roller coaster.
And I might not say, "Oh, that's too bad. I'm going without you."
Hopefully you would be a bit more empathetic than that. Yeah.
I would try, because this is definitely sympathy. I feel sorry that you don't want to go on the roller coaster with me, but I'm gonna go have some fun.
See, I think it's fun just to eat funnel cake and wait while my friends ride the roller coasters, but
you can hold all the funnel cake, then you might get a little extra. Good system. All right. In this situation, you are only feeling sorry for them. You didn't try to share their feelings. How could you respond to your friend with empathy or trying to share their feelings? How could I better respond if she does not want to ride the roller coaster with me? So we have, I understand how you feel because I'm afraid of boat rides. It's hard. Just be brave. I'm sorry you can't go on the roller coaster. At least you can go on other rides.
Yes, and I'm seeing some questions wondering how people can find these Kahoots. So I'm thinking after we play the Kahoot, I can show them real quick. I can share my screen and show everyone where you can find these Kahoots that you can play, and then we can go over some questions with Aimee.
That sounds like a great idea because they are easy to find once you know where to look. And then you can save them and they're always in your favorites. Perfect.
Yes.
All right, absolutely. That first one, I understand how you feel because I'm afraid of boat rides. It's hard. That is a great empathetic response. Ooh, now we have 10 players who have reached an answer streak of 4. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, by responding this way, you are showing empathy. You are thinking about a similar situation that you have experienced and connecting with your friend over these shared feelings. At lunch, a new student is alone. You remember feeling sad when you didn't know anyone and ask them to sit with you. This is empathy, sharing their feelings, or this is sympathy, feeling sorry for them. What do you think? Is this empathy or sympathy?
It's always good to have a refresher on empathy and sympathy, I think. Like even now I'm kind of like, which is which? So it's a nice review.
Yep, this definitely brings in, like, this is great for adults too. Like, everyone needs refreshers on some social emotional skills when dealing with other people, which we all do. So absolutely, this is empathy. You noticed that she was sad and you remembered a time that you felt that way, so you shared the feelings. So that was absolutely empathy because you remembered how you felt sad when you didn't know anyone, and this helped you understand how a new student might be feeling. Then by asking them to sit with you, you even took action to help them, which is awesome. All right, when is it the hardest for you to practice empathy? When I'm tired, when I'm frustrated, when I don't know someone, or when I don't know what to say? Those are some great answer choices.
This is a really good question. I wish tired and frustrated was an option.
This might be like a select more than one.
Yeah. Or hungry. Hungry is a big one for me.
Mm-hmm. This is such a good reflection question, like thinking about for yourself when you have a really hard time with this.
Mm-hmm. And I see Judith asking about other languages. So actually yesterday we released the Kahoot app in Spanish. Super awesome. We're hoping to roll it out to the online website soon. To celebrate that release, we're adding collections in Spanish to the Kahoot website as quickly as we can. So we do have a social and emotional learning collection in Spanish that you can use right now, and I can show that too.
That's so cool. All right, great job. Sometimes it can be hard to practice empathy, like when we're tired or frustrated or we don't know the other person or what to say. What can we do in those situations? We can take a moment to pause and reflect. Why is it important to understand and share someone's feelings before taking action to help them? That was a great question to think about.
Yeah.
Practicing empathy might not always be easy, but it's important that we still try whenever possible. Empathy helps us better understand others and build strong relationships with them.
Oh, we're superstars. Oh, that's so nice.
Woo! Awesome.
Good job, JS.
Totally forgot, Isabella, for us to mention what we talked about yesterday.
We did. So if you placed first, second, or third, please take a screenshot of your screen.
Do you want me to hand it back to you?
Sure, I can share my screen real quick and show everyone where they can find these Kahoots. So I love everyone always when you share a screen, you're like, so let me share my screen. Okay, So here's my screen. And you can see this is what shows up when you log into Kahoot. So you've logged into Kahoot. This is your dashboard. So where you want to go to find this collection is you want to click Discover up here at the top. And this is where all of our Kahoot collections are. And you can scroll. So we have some fun new Marvel Kahoots up here. And then you can see our social and emotional learning collections. So we have 4 collections, which are awesome. They're all a little bit different, maybe target different ages or use different characters. They're all super awesome though. So here's one, Pika Pack. So that's here. And then you can click See Collection. It brings you right there. You can keep scrolling. And then we have the Empatico ones. This, Aimee, I believe is what you played, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we just played. Yes, so here's the empathy one that we just did. And keep scrolling, Peppy Pals. So if your students love, you know, animals and cute pets, this is probably a good one that they would like. And then we have our own social and emotional learning Kahoots. These were actually created by my wonderful colleague, Amanda, who used to be a teacher and is now working for us here at Kahoot while she's in grad school. She, like Aimee, feels very passionate about social emotional learning. So again, you just go log into your Kahoot account, you click Discover, and they're all right there. We can look at these, see collection. And
I just saw something asking about high school and middle school, and I definitely think that these ones target those upper grades and ages a little more than maybe like the Pika Pack or the so I would probably recommend those. Would you agree for some of the older kids?
Yeah, I would agree too. Yeah, these social and emotional ones that Kahoot created, they're probably a little bit more broad in the age group. And then we also have some Spanish ones. This social and emotional collection, this is the one that's translated into Spanish. It's not showing up on my screen right now because I'm on our Kahoot Studio Kahoot account, which is actually a Norwegian account. But if you're in the United States or if you're in a Spanish-speaking country, if you go to the Discover page and scroll down, you should be able to see it in Spanish. Yeah, and I think I've seen just kind of some other quick questions I'll do before I hand it over to Aimee to do some questions with her. Yes, so we are bringing other languages to Kahoot soon. Next up, we're working on French, Brazilian Portuguese, and Norwegian. Kahoot's a Norwegian company, which is why we love doing things in Norway. Those are all coming soon. And hopefully in the next couple months, we'll be adding those and including more awesome content on Kahoot in those languages. And the other thing I'm seeing is that I'm seeing kind of some questions about creating Kahoots, how to search for Kahoots, some of the more like practical Kahoot questions. I'm actually hosting a webinar in 2 weeks and I'm going over all of that. Yes, so if you want to learn how to create Kahoots, if you want to learn all about the new features, go sign up for our next webinar in 2 weeks. It's free, just like this one. You have to listen to me instead of Aimee, but I'll go through all the different types of Kahoots, show y'all Discover again. It's really great. So if you want to sign up for that, I'll put the link in the chat, but it's just kahoot.com/webinars. And then you can click on the schools and then you'll see the registration page. Yeah. Okay, let me type that in.
And I saw a few questions and I wanted to just say it again. These are available. All of these collections are available in the free, the basic account. You do not have to have Kahoot Premium, any of the paid stuff to have access to this tomorrow with your kids.
Correct. So free accounts can use these Kahoots. Thank you, Aimee, for bringing that up again. Yes, totally free. Okay, wonderful. Well, let's do some questions then. And I'm sure people will probably be peppering us with more questions as we go. So I have 2 ones that were kind of asking, I think, about some content you went over in your presentation. So Marjorie asked, what were you referring to with students using Google Forms to share emotions?
Ooh, awesome. So I was talking about, there are tons of already made, they are typically called a daily check-in. And you can find them all over the internet. People have already made them and are sharing them freely. They're just a little check-in for your kids to do when they're at home doing their learning. to start their day or end their day, kind of similar to an exit ticket, but just to start your day. So they fill out a form, they type in their name, anything else you're asking them, and they can say, like, today I'm feeling tired, today I'm feeling kind of grouchy. They can choose from options with pictures, or they can type in their own response, and you can kind of gauge how they're feeling and if they're ready to learn, if they're really stuck on something and can't progress until that's resolved. So that's what I was referring to, was the use of Google Forms for that.
And so where do you have a suggestion off the top of your head of a website with some good resources for that?
Probably Teachers Pay Teachers. I would think. I can't remember where my team had one that we all used, but even if you can't find one that fits what you want, Google Forms are super user-friendly to create to fit exactly what you want for your students. You can add your own pictures, you can add your own questions. There's tons, again, YouTube tutorials are my favorite. There's tons of videos out there to help you create your own form if you can't find exactly what you're looking for.
Yes, Google Forms are super cool, and that's something I want to learn more about. There are some teachers who are experts at them, and they will use Google Forms to connect to Google Sheets, and then use the spreadsheet importer in Kahoot to create Kahoots.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's pro level Kahooting.
Wow. That it definitely is. I'm not quite there yet.
Okay, so another question. So Aimee, you mentioned that you are in a hybrid classroom right now, and there are some teachers who were maybe looking for some more advice on how to connect with their students virtually when they're trying to, incorporate more social and emotional learning into their lessons. What do you suggest?
I would suggest letting them hear your voice and see your face. You're going to build connections with them, even if you're not on a video call or a Zoom or whatever it is, speaking to them. If they get to see you and hear you, they're going to become more connected to you the more they see and hear you. Even if that's just you reading a book aloud in a video that you record on your phone or your iPad and you email it to your families. If you just do a little check-in. I know my school, we didn't feel comfortable doing Meet the Teacher the way we've always done it in the past. So we recorded some kind of silly videos of like introducing ourselves and sharing a little about us, sharing a little bit about our classroom, showing them around. And when the students were then able to drive up and do like a little drive-by Meet the Teacher, and they all watched the video and they were so excited. They already felt connected to me in our classroom and they hadn't been there or met me. So videos, pictures, audio, we even put audio in our Google Slides. There's so many easy tech ways or even low tech ways. You don't have to put audio in your slides. You can take a video on your phone and email it to parents. There's lots of ways to get it to your students, but that's the easiest and most friendly way, I feel like, to really build those connections. And there's tons of tools for your students to connect with each other. I know Flipgrid is an amazing one that students can see and hear each other, respond to each other, that kind of thing. So that would be my suggestion. Just get your voice and your face in front of them.
Yeah, something I really liked that you included in your presentation was the breathing exercises. I've been trying to do that more recently as a way to calm myself down and just take a deep breath, because I have a really hard time doing that. And so that I kind of thought would be something you could potentially do with your students in a Zoom, right?
Absolutely. That's a quick way to start your meeting, start your little Zoom meeting. If you take a deep breath all together, kind of just to get ready, make sure you're all on the same page and ready to get going. It's a great way. And I didn't even think about how powerful deep breathing is. We all kind of know that breathing is important, but when you really take time, especially when you do it with your students, and you just sit there and take a couple deep breaths, it is amazing the difference it makes for you and how ready you are to continue your day and how ready they are. Like, it is getting that oxygen to the brain. So important. It's always a good reminder.
Yeah, it is. And I've been fascinated by it lately. I just got a smartwatch as well. So I track my heart rate all the time, and I can really notice the difference when I'm actually putting purpose into my breathing and taking, even if it's just once an hour, taking a few deep breaths. It can really help with stress.
It's healthy, not just emotionally or socially, it's just healthy.
Yeah. So true. Okay, well, I think we have time for one more question. And again, if you have more questions about Kahoot in general, please email me. I get lots of emails every day. Sometimes it takes me a few days to respond, but I will respond. I'll drop my email again, but you can also find me on Twitter at Kahoot Isabella. My email is isabellav@kahoot.com. So Aimee, one more good question for you. And you can just kind of talk about how you try to do this in your daily life. It doesn't have to be an answer for everyone. But how do you build and maintain social community and peer friendships with social distancing during face-to-face delivery and instruction and remote instruction? That's from Kathy. Thank you, Kathy.
Yes, it's definitely a little trickier, but a lot of the things that I feel like we do to connect, we can still do with a little more space between us. Some of the best ways to connect are eye contact. Physical touch is an amazing one, but right now we're holding off on that. But all doing things together, doing uniting activities is really powerful in building that connectedness and unity. In my classroom, we do a Brain Smart Start. I talked about this a little bit during the Kahoot teacher takeover for Kahoot Academy, but we start our day by doing a uniting activity. We sing a song together, we do a silly dance together. We're all doing the same thing at the same time. And those activities are also what my kids at home are doing. So they are doing the same dance at home that my kids are doing at school, even if they're doing it at a different time. Like they're still getting those same experiences, and doing activities that, let them make eye contact. They're looking at other people, there's space between them, but they're still connecting, and letting kids talk. I say all day long, and talk a little louder. The person next to you can't quite hear you because your mask is making your voice a little quieter. So, because we are wearing masks in the classroom. So there's been some reminders, and it changes a little bit, but we're still talking to each other. We're still sharing our would you rathers little topics. We're still sharing our thoughts on things. And that can also, again, be done in different ways. Flipgrid is an incredible way for students to still share with others. And they still kind of get to converse. Like they can post a video and other kids can post a video back. And other platforms I know have ways for students to like and comment safely, like Seesaw has those features where they can see each other's work. So it is tricky, but if you're purposeful and you take a little pressure off yourself, I think. You don't have to do all the same things. We're connecting in different ways. We're still connecting. It just looks a little different. And honestly, I felt like my students have been so adaptable to it all. They understand that it's a little different. It might be hard sometimes, but they know that they're still together at least. They're still in Mrs. Copple's class. They're still in the second grade community or our school community. And that's how we've been able to connect so far. Thank you for everyone for coming, showing some interest in social emotional learning and being willing to learn a little more about it and how to use it in your classroom. And I wish you well.